You're listening to All Hands on Tech. Come along as we get to know the people and businesses behind the province's ever-expanding tech sector.
Each episode, we'll chat with local experts to uncover the hidden gems that make Nova Scotia a hub for collaboration, innovation, and creativity.
All Hands on Tech is proudly produced by Digital Nova Scotia, the industry association for Nova Scotia's growing tech sector. Welcome along to another episode of All Hands on Tech. I'm Eilish.
And I think I might be 65% caffeine today, but you can call me Greg. And today we're turning our focus to healthcare and the incredible advancements of shaping patient care right here in Nova Scotia.
We certainly are, and I definitely feel that caffeine comment. So, from the cutting-edge surgical technologies being used to the vital role that philanthropy plays in providing them, throughout this episode, we will be diving into how Nova Scotia is leading the way in healthcare transformation.
And joining us for that very conversation is Susan Mullin, President and CEO of the QEII Foundation, and Dr. David Clarke, a renowned neurosurgeon and professor at Dalhousie University's Division of Neurosurgery. Thank you guys both for being here.
Yes, thank you so much.
Be here.
I know you both are very busy, so we certainly appreciate the time to have this conversation. And the way that we start off our podcast is always with some icebreaker questions that come as a little bit of a surprise to our guests. So if you're along for the ride, we'll get started.
I'm good.
He's hydrating. He knows what's coming.
All right, let's go for it.
Okay, so alluding to the fact that you guys are both very busy, what is your favorite way to unwind after a long day? Susan, do you want to start?
I'll start. You will see me walking around my neighborhood with my dog.
Nice.
Completely no judgment, right? You come home, they're happy to see you, and you take
Yes.
them out. So that, that and friends.
Amazing.
Love
Okay, that's
that.
a good way. Yeah. What about yourself, Dr. Clarke?
I'm also a walker, and but I would say one of the things on a weekly basis that I enjoy the most is playing tennis. I do that a couple of hours once a week, and it's more of a social activity than anything, but I really enjoy that.
Okay.
Amazing.
Do you go from indoor to outdoor courts? Like, is it a year-round thing?
Yeah, for me, I'm a seasonal tennis player,
Okay.
and I play inside during the winter.
Okay.
Okay.
So not outside during the summer, though?
Outside during the summer, I'm busy doing other things.
You're busy doing other things. Okay. Okay. That's for the next episode that we have you on. That we'll find out all about that.
So our next question is, if you could bring back one retro gadget or piece of technology, what would it be?
Is the pager going to be your top as a
I was
doctor?
gonna say.
Yeah? Okay, so maybe not a fan favorite of the old pager?
It certainly characterized a significant portion of my career.
Okay.
And in terms of technology, that was an intimate part of me. That would be probably it.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So for better or for worse, maybe we bring back the
For
pager.
better or worse, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine is more social. So
Yeah.
I have a classic iPod, and I love this circular. Oh, I love it.
Solitaire?
No.
Did you play solitaire on it?
No,
Oh.
just the
Breaker?
iPod.
Oh, just the music itself.
Yeah,
Okay,
so it was just
okay.
the old one, and it felt good.
Yeah.
You felt like
I
you
know
were in
it felt.
control.
Yeah.
I wish you could have like that perfect blend of that, because I love the idea of not having to use my big phone to
Yeah.
pick
Yeah.
songs. I just want to
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
shuffle or
Yeah.
have a playlist and I just go next
Yeah.
and have it be tiny and something that doesn't take like a huge chunk of my
Yes.
pocket space.
Yeah. I still remember I was in early high school, I think it was, and I had it was like a electric blue iPod. I think it was, I don't know if it was necessarily considered the Nano. Well, it might have been, because remember they had like the pretty big
Yeah.
brick ones,
Yeah.
and then they had the really tiny ones. This was like the in-between, and you could play solitaire on it. So I would have my little headphones in, and I'd be laying in bed much later than I was supposed to,
Playing
and I
solitaire.
would just be, and it took forever to move a
Yeah.
singular card, because
Yeah.
you had the little scroll, but it was so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tactile piece of it.
Yes, yes. Okay, those are both very good answers for very different reasons. I like that. Okay, you both have incredible jobs, in my opinion, and I think in probably a lot of folks' opinions.
Absolutely.
But if you could have any job in the world different from what you currently have, because maybe if you had the option, this is what you would choose, but different, what would that job be?
Dr. Clarke.
Yeah. So,
Pro tennis player.
no, I think if, first of all, I would say that if I had to do it all over again,
Yeah.
would I go a different path? And the answer is no. I love what I do,
Amazing.
and I have no regrets whatsoever in terms of that path.
Wow.
If I were forced into a non-medical pathway,
Okay.
I think I would probably have ended up in construction.
Amazing.
The obvious question, why?
Well, I mean, there is a connection with
Working with hands?
surgeons and working
Yeah.
with hands,
Okay.
and going through high school and university. I often did construction during the summer
Really?
to help pay the way,
Wow.
and I enjoyed that, and I still enjoy doing some of that kind of work. So
Cool.
Amazing.
yeah.
I wish I was handy.
I know.
Yeah,
I am not at all. Yeah.
I try.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of patchwork.
Yeah, a lot of our DIY stuff around the apartment is not good.
How about you, Susan?
Yeah.
For me, I would say I thought I would go a slightly more medical route
Okay.
than the job I'm doing now, either in the field of veterinary science.
Okay.
But when I passed out at an operation, that seemed probably not like a
Kinda
good choice.
solidified. Yeah.
But I think where I've ended up, I'm still having that
Yeah.
impact on healthcare. So it's just kind of interesting to think
Nice.
about, the path I
Nice.
imagined I was going to be on was impacting healthcare, but
Okay.
in a different way.
That's super
Amazing.
interesting. And actually, it's going to lead into one of our questions a little further down the line here of what got you both into the past, like the careers that you're in right now. But before we do kind of get into that whole side of it, let's talk a little bit about, we're working with some fascinating technology in our hospitals here in the province. And you guys kind of work on, you're the reason why we have a lot of that fascinating technology, but you're also the reason why we're looking into the future of what tech we will be able to provide here in the province. So the foundation, for those who may not know, recently held its Innovation Den, where our very own Greg Dobson was a little bit of an MC. Susan, can you tell us a little bit about the event itself and some of what comes from it for that future?
Sure. It's a really exciting event, only the second year we've hosted it, and it was thanks to philanthropy and donors who had experienced a similar event in Toronto have moved to Nova Scotia and decided they wanted to bring the same project here. And really, John Hunkin and Susan Crocker want to inspire other people to be interested in research and innovation from a philanthropic standpoint. So they know that we can purchase equipment, but unless you put all the wraparounds around it, around research and advancing care, it's just a piece of equipment, and so you have to think about it more than the equipment, right? So that is so we did $200,000 of grants based on sort of presentations. They were screened first, and we had 6 presenters, and it was very much a Dragon's Den kind of style event with judges, really high caliber judges asking tough questions. And I think it really inspires people to think about, even an $8,000 investment in a project can advance it. So I think, people can get involved at all levels.
Very cool. And I mean, any amount adds up, right? Whether
absolutely.
you think you're not, maybe contributing enough, it all adds up. It all goes into the pot, and it can all drive that innovation. Right. I want to hear a little bit about, you've shared with me personally, but I want to hear your side of things from that night.
I hadn't known about any of the pitches beforehand. And so for me, it was really exciting to see the collective, Nova Scotians talk about challenges that we have with the healthcare system. And it's so great to see people who are passionate about making an impact on that in many ways, whether that's reducing wait times or being more efficient when it comes to folks who have gone through major surgeries or need to have major surgeries, and is there a better way for us to be able to get those people in and out? And then, from my own sort of selfish interests, specifically in cardiology, seeing the use of AI technology in ways to be able to screen patients in a way that could have a significant reduction in costs to our healthcare system, but also wait times and more effective use of screening time for patients as well. I thought that was fantastic. And I'd say the other thing too that stood out for me was the fact that so many of the folks who were pitching were, the innovators in healthcare technology were female-led as well. And I think that is a major, piece that stood out for me, and it's something that was pretty remarkable as well.
Nice.
I think of it as those frontline healthcare workers who see a problem and have that entrepreneurial bent to say, I think I have a solution. I'm going to work on changing this. So not just continuing to do the same thing over and over again, but saying, I think I can do this better, and here's how I'm going to do it. So I think, it is those frontline staff and
who better, right? To know what's needed, what's missing, what can push that problem forward and solve it potentially.
Exactly.
So, and big shout out to Dr. Emily Johnson who took home the top prize.
That's right, $100,000 for the pain coach.
And I think the thing, especially with her win, the one thing that I found amazing was that she had been involved the previous year, and just having those who were involved with the event notice the big change from one year to the next when it came to pitching and how things went. I think that goes to show that the iterative process of trying something out, pitching it, might not necessarily work the first time, but what a difference, spending that time and refining and diving deeper into the problem. That's where innovation, is at its core, and I think that was very evident when she won. And I was sitting in the front and I looked over, and just to see the emotion that came over, really moving for sure.
Nice.
I think these are the items or the characteristics of an academic center.
Right. Yeah. You're right.
And whether it's in neurosurgery or surgery or medicine in general, it's really the link that I know that a place that is committed to research and innovation is also a place that delivers better care.
Yeah.
And we obviously want to deliver better care for the people that we see in front of us, but the impact that we have is even wider.
That's right.
And in today's world of sharing information and things, the impact can be literally worldwide.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. No, it's and I always find it just so fascinating that it's all happening right here in our own backyard.
Exactly.
Having been from here, growing up here in Nova Scotia, it always just blows me away. The talent and the intellect that we have here is always just fascinating. So fascinating. Okay, we're going to switch over from the Innovation Hub to you guys. Let's learn a little bit about both of y'all. So we're going to start with Dr. Clarke. You got to sit that last conversation out a little bit too much here, so we'll start with you. You work in neurosurgery, as we've known here, with a little bit of a focus on those living with epilepsy as well through your work. What exactly led you down this career path to where you are today?
So I grew up in Nova Scotia, did my undergraduate here in Nova Scotia, and then went to Montreal to do medical school. And at that time, if someone asked me what my trajectory would be in terms of career, I probably would have said, well, I'll probably come back here and work as a family doctor. And while I was in Montreal, I got on a different path. Okay. And I was heavily influenced. When I was in medical school, I took an afternoon with another classmate of mine and went to the Montreal Neurological Institute and arranged to see a brain surgery. And we had done that because of the National Film Board's, that Dr. Penfield's burnt toast episode.
Yes.
And so it was literally, we would walk by it each day, and so we made a point to go and see that surgery. And when I saw that surgery, which was in the operating room where Dr. Penfield had operated, and in the same operating room where I did much of my training, I was really, something really clicked at that point.
Wow.
And the rest was just a matter of putting the pieces in to finish that puzzle.
Wow.
So that was an influential moment.
Yeah. What a different life you may lead had you come back here to be a GP.
Yeah, and that's not to say that also wouldn't have been a major contribution. We all make our contributions in different ways, and have fulfilling careers in that. But yes, at certain points of your life's path, there are certain things that have major influences, and for me, that was one of them.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Well, our next question here is for Susan, and it is, What do you think has led you to your current role as president and CEO of the foundation? I know we've chatted about that a little bit on the sides, but I would love just to learn more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know that fundraising and sort of leading nonprofit organizations was a career choice. I certainly had no idea about it when I was younger, but I was looking for some line of work to get into that felt like I was contributing in some way. I talked about that, the healthcare realm, and I happened into a fundraising contract in my 20s, and it was a 9-month contract actually, and I knew right away that it was a field I wanted to stay in. Nice. And I hadn't I needed a job, and that's what I found. I wasn't so strategic at the time, but I loved it. And I think for me, healthcare is something that everybody cares about, and most of my career has been in healthcare. Did a little bit in academia. And I'm really happy to be back directly in healthcare, because I think it just, we all need the system in some way. Yeah. It's relevant to everybody. Mm-hmm. And so talking to people about philanthropy and giving to healthcare is fairly straightforward. Yeah. People get what the impact is, particularly these days. Yeah. So it's been many decades.
I'm not going to tell you how many.
No, I just did it on my headset. No, I'm not going to say it.
That's a number that will stay a secret. I feel like, healthcare seems to be one that truly does touch everyone, mm-hmm. whether the impacts are big or small. It's similar to, I think, and why it aligns so well. Technology is the same mm-hmm. way. That you're going to need it at some point. And so that's why it's so important to have, I think, folks mm-hmm. like yourself in the role that you're in, and just have the foundation in general, that mm-hmm. it's so important to just get that awareness out there, so that, again, like you say, like mm-hmm. whether somebody's donating $5 or $50,000, right? It all impacts us and has takes a toll in a positive way, hopefully. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And people can think about where they, in healthcare, there's all kinds. It could be mm-hmm. cancer care, it could be mm-hmm. neurosurgery, it can be frontline healthcare, emergency. So there's also lots of doors to come through for people. Yeah, and I feel that kind of allows folks to have that connection to it. Absolutely.
That say I lost someone to mm-hmm. cancer in my life, and so then I'm more apt. Maybe that's where I'm going to put my money. So that's right. Something I can do and feel mm-hmm. good about. And Okay, we're going to get to the tech side of this world, which of course is where Dr. Clarke comes into play again. You are using just incredible technology in your day-to-day work, which is it's so fascinating to me. A couple of your achievements in these last couple of years: you performed the world's first open brain surgery in a virtual reality environment, which actually saw you as the recipient of the National Research Council's Outstanding Achievement Award. You also performed the first robot-assisted brain biopsy in the country. And then more recently, you completed surgery using the ROSA 1, is that how you say mm-hmm. it? Okay, the ROSA 1 advanced surgery robot. Talk to me a little bit about what it's like to just incorporate technology like that into the world of medicine.
Yeah, so it has been and continues to be a journey.
Yeah.
And a wonderful journey, I would say. For a long time, neurosurgery of probably all of the subspecialties of medicine has been, I would say, friendly to new technology. Mm-hmm. And this goes back to the days of incorporating imaging technologies into the operating room to guide surgeons to where they need to go in terms of the surgeries they're doing. In terms of the robotic technologies, this is something that really in the last few years mm-hmm. we are now starting to see, and people have been talking about this for literally decades. Yeah. But now we're really actually seeing that impact in day-to-day lives of patients. Yeah. And you mentioned the robotic brain biopsy procedure that we did here, procedures that we continue to do. And just to come back to our role of research and innovation and so forth, we work to do some of the critical preclinical work with that robotic technology, so that we were able to bring it into our hospital and offer it to our patients. One of the first 3 sites worldwide. Wow. And this is literally used around the world now. So these kind of technologies, they really are great to incorporate into the care that we provide to our patient when we know that those technologies provide added benefit to those patients and to our system. And so working with the foundation and bringing these technologies into the operating room or into the patient's care, this is a tremendous advance and makes it a wonderful place to be working.
Amazing. I'm so happy to hear you say that as somebody who's in the thick of it, because obviously we can assume from the outside that having access to these technologies and whatnot is fantastic, incredible. I've said those words 1,000 times already, but to hear it from the folks who are actually in the thick of it and using it is really great. I know I'm going to cut you off. Sorry, Greg. I do this to you all the time. I always think, I'm like, okay, I want to know more about this. 1 second.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about the training that you've had. I know you touched on the fact that you guys are kind of part of that research before even bringing the technology here. But what does training look like for yourself to then be able to use these technologies?
Yeah, so I would say that, again, with the development of robotic technology, that interface between clinician and utilization of the technology is actually becoming easier over time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And, you can think of it in terms of any computer interaction that we have. Imagine interacting with a computer, 10, 15 years ago. There's nothing intuitive about things at that time. And now it's much easier. And the same thing with robotic technologies. We obviously have to have the core clinical skills to be able to use that. Another important feature is that some people think that the robot actually does the surgery, and that's although that may happen at some point in the future and put me out of a job, that's not what robotic technology in general does. But what robotic technology can do is help to make the procedure much more efficient in terms of time, but most importantly, can make the procedure safer and more effective for the patient.
And that's about precision, isn't
And that's
it?
It's about precision and the elimination of human error. So I'll give you an example. With the most recent robot that we are now using, the ROSA robot, that's used to help us put electrodes in the brain for patients who have epilepsy. And the basic question is, where is the epilepsy coming from exactly? Because if we know that, then we can offer a treatment for that potentially. And so in patients where we put these electrodes in, on average we are putting in, and it varies from patient to patient, but on average about 10 electrodes will go in through the skull, through the brain, and to a particular target. And prior to using the robot, to align that electrode along its specific trajectory, there were 12 different measurements that had to be adjusted and then verified by me and then by my assistant to make sure everything is correct before we could put in one electrode. So if you look at the number of electrodes we're putting in, for example, that means in a given procedure there are over 100 measurements that all have a very small but not zero risk of human error. And all of that is totally eliminated with robotic technology.
Robotic tech. Wow.
Yeah.
Which must just speed up the process
It does.
exponentially.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. Wow, my goodness. I find it, again, it's all, I don't know if I necessarily understood all of what you said, to be completely honest, but it's just from my very high level understanding of it. It really is just so neat that we have this technology, that we, that it's been created at all, let alone available to us here in what sometimes feels like small town Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Well, on the sort of topic of, collaboration, between neurosurgeons and robotics and now looking at it from the lens of the QE2 Foundation playing a remarkable role in making technologies like the ROSA one available to us here in Nova Scotia. For you, Susan, the majority of this tech is here thanks to donors.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
That's right. It is. We've brought 5 of 6 robotic technologies to the QE2 so far, and there's more on the horizon. Yeah.
So safe to say that an individual or a family or an organization, when they're making a donation, they could be having a degree of an impact on someone's likely successful neurosurgery.
Absolutely. And so the ROSA, we're investing across the board, across different applications, whether it's orthopedics, cancer care, spinal surgery, so different than neurosurgery, but spinal surgeries and others. And it's incredibly exciting to be able to talk to donors about the technology, because I think when you talked about it, Dr. Clarke, as being the technology now being around the world. What we can do is we can get it here first. And in some ways, that's what philanthropy can do, is accelerate the pace of change. And then we make sure we keep people who are really talented and want to be working with the latest technology, and potentially recruit other people because they also want to work with the latest technology. And then we're part of building the capacity of what that robot can do as well, and continuing to enhance the technology, working with the industry partner as well. It's just, to me, it's exciting. Being first sounds like you're running a race, and it's not about that. Yeah, this is really about being able to recruit and retain the best people, deliver the best care possible.
Yeah.
You talked about wait lists and wait times, and if we can reduce the length of operations, there's some capacity changes that are possible in some of the technology. So it is really exciting, and donors get really excited about helping us to advance in that way.
And I think that it speaks to the core of what I've come to learn about the QE2 Foundation is, oftentimes not-for-profits talk about impact, but impact has such a deeper meaning, especially when it comes to the work that you do and the work that all of these donors participate in bringing this technology to our hospitals, because it's getting it first, but it means a monumental shift in patient care quicker and over time, continuing to build up those capabilities. What an impact that can have over decades.
Yeah. Well, that trickle-down effect is just very clear. It seems that, like you say about that, recruitment, retention, that if we've got the best and the best, and we're, the first in the country to have, that technology, that I feel like we're probably going to attract the best of the folks who want to use it.
And to be trained by the best,
and
right?
To be trained by the best,
part of it, right?
Yeah, no, I think, I think the whole issue of, we were talking about innovation and research, this creates an environment that attracts and retains the best, and we see that in the quality of the medical students who want to come and train with us. We see that in recruitment and successful retention of faculty who come here and put down roots in Nova Scotia, because there are options to be elsewhere, and so as Susan said, it does really speak more importantly to the exciting environment in which to work and provide that top-notch care than to say, oh, I'm the first in this and I'm first in that. Or those are nice things, and we take them when we have those opportunities. But the priority really is to make sure we have an environment that supports that innovation and research, because it has so much impact on who comes here, who stays here, and ultimately the kind of care that we provide.
And I mean, the slight elephant in the room is that the reality is right now, everywhere, healthcare is struggling. The people involved in it are struggling. There's a level of burnout, I think, that we've maybe not seen before. So I think that to have those moments of excitement, that, the training opportunities, and then that patient impact as well, I think is probably just a little bit of a positive to kind of cross out that little bit of negativity that we are seeing right now.
And for me, we sometimes hear that when we're talking to donors about the system, right? And we say, okay, we as the QE2 Foundation won't change the entire system, but your investment here in the ROSA 1 technology will have a tremendous impact on delivering advanced epilepsy care, right? Or it's over here with the orthopedic robot that's helping to now lead us to create a center of excellence in robotics. So it's that opportunity to say, yes, there's challenges, and here's some ways to make some advances that are really meaningful.
Absolutely. You know, in healthcare, you know, we've seen it in so many different aspects, you know, aging population, whatever the specific variable is, you know, we're paddling upstream and we're constantly fighting against that current. But, you know, to throw something in there like a robot that can, you know, have that level of precision, why not throw an inboard motor on the back of that paddle? And maybe you can, you know, make some strides. You're still going to be going against that stream, but what a difference that can make in terms of being able to not just be treading water, but trying to take some steps to course correct. I think that's fantastic.
This guy loves to go for a swim, can you tell?
I do love swimming.
So to kind of break down the process a little bit, Susan, if you could, what does the fundraising process actually look like? Is it a situation where somebody like Dr. Clarke says, "Oh, this would be fascinating for us to have"? Like, I think we could maybe. Is it? Do you guys know what you're fundraising for specifically, or is it that there's a pot and you hope that it grows, and if it does, you can kind of allocate to where the needs are?
Yeah. All of our fundraising is really driven by specific sort of funding priorities, decisions that have been made in concert with Dr. Clarke, who would say, "Susan, we could use this technology," and then we work through the system, because there's implications, right, of bringing any new technology in. There's operating costs and operational costs. There's also operating costs, but operational costs. Does it require another person? Does the room have to be somehow renovated? So there's all of that work that we need to do in advance. But we then go out and ask donors specifically to give to those programs. So we're not, it's really hard to inspire people just to give and trust us. We'll do
find
something good. Yeah. So we are, we've already done, as I was saying, 5 of the 6 robots that are at the QEII Health Sciences Centre. And that's $14.7 million we've raised just for those robots. Wow. And again, we talk about research around it, some other supports around it for it, maybe some kind of innovation costs. But we're also now going to a Center of Excellence in Robotics. So we saw that we were creating this momentum around robotics, right? So why not actually harness this and make the whole bigger than the sum of its parts? I believe that's the way to say it. And it's that whole notion of, so now if we have all these robots, what do we learn collectively about it, and how can we build on it? And those are the kinds of stories we're out talking to donors about as well. So at the end of the day, we would expect, we're in a $100 million fundraising campaign, the largest ever for healthcare in Atlantic Canada. And we will, at the end of the campaign, we will have raised in the neighborhood of $35 million for robotic technologies, and then data and innovation. So data and AI also to be built around that. So it is really exciting.
Indeed.
Nice. We touched a little bit on it, and both of you have, about some of the challenges when it comes to introducing, such advanced technology in healthcare. Is there anything that, anything else that, obviously cost is a huge one, but anything else that kind of stands out to either of you?
I would say one of the greatest challenges is, although you need to be open to new technologies, and that is important. One of the greatest challenges is to also step back and evaluate those critically, because I think there are a lot of things out there that may be flashes, and others that are going to be more of a sustained lighting of the path in the future. So I think that's one of the challenges, and I think that's also one of the reasons why there is a process. I can't just give Susan a call and say, look, I'd like to have this.
Here's my Amazon wish list.
Yeah. And I think that's a reasonable thing, and I think it's the onus is on us to make sure that case is well developed and has looked at other perhaps competing technologies or competing interests. So I think that's one of the challenges.
Yeah.
So as part of that assessment, how do you see simulation technologies continuing to shape neurosurgical education?
Because one of the texts that we mentioned here is you in virtual reality training to then use robotics within surgery, right?
Yes, that's correct. So I think the issue of simulation in education in general, and then specifically for surgery, is one that will continue to evolve. And I still think it's another one of those things that we've been talking about now for quite a while. But I think really in the next decade to 15 years, there will be major impact. Yeah. I was involved in a group through the Royal College that looked at the potential role for simulation in surgical training. And this was several years ago now, but at that time, we thought that probably 50 to 60% of what was being learned in the operating room could be taken out of the operating room and learned in a different kind of environment. Because as you know, the traditional way of learning a surgical trade, if you like, is on-the-job training.
Yeah.
And so there have been certainly movement in that direction in significant ways in terms of surgical skills, in terms of how we interact with patients before we actually see patients and so forth. But I think that there will be even more impactful changes as time goes on, not only for the learners, the students and residents, but also for those in practice to maintain their skills and for evaluation purposes. So I think there is a lot still coming, but the technology that is happening will enable those things to really come into practice.
And I mean, you touched on those that are learning and the benefits of removing them from within the operating room. I have to imagine then the associated risk with having somebody learn on a live patient, removing that risk is probably also a little bit of a benefit, you would think.
Yes, for sure. I think there are, if you think about it, there are certain things that you just need exposure to real patients
of course.
Over time, and that's part of a training process under the supervision of someone who has expertise.
Yeah.
But I think what simulation really wants to eliminate is the person coming in and starting at the 0 level when they could be coming in and starting at the 60 or 70% level and then carrying on.
Yeah. And then kind of refining those techniques.
Yeah.
Interesting. How different is it when you, and maybe there's no tangible way to measure this, but when you're doing something virtually as opposed to then actually performing the operation? Yeah.
So it still is different.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. But one of the things that we demonstrated in doing that virtual reality surgery for the first time was that you could take a person's own information and input that into the system so that you have a training device that is not just a generic one, but one that could mimic the patient you're then about to operate on. And again, this still has some difficulties in terms of application, but I think that concept will ultimately become commonplace.
And I think for us, from the excitement of funding the Center of Excellence is also to build on that, right? And to say, also what's all the data we've gathered, because all of the robots have kind of black boxes of data. So what do we learn over time about someone who presents in this way in advance of surgery and gets surgery like this, and you can look at all of the parameters, what changed, what did you do in the surgery, and what's the outcome. And so how do you continue to enhance that? And that, I think, also would support some of what Dr. Clarke is saying.
And I would also say that part of the evaluation process of what we do in terms of simulation and training, again, research is really important because some skills, I think, require, or the development of some skills require a very complicated, complex environment that is heavily dependent on technology. Whereas other things probably don't require much. And I give an example. Little over 12 years ago, we started here in Halifax training of neurosurgery residents who were just starting their neurosurgery residency. So they just finished medical school. Now they're about to start their neurosurgery training. And we had the first national camp for neurosurgery, which we call the rookie camp for neurosurgery, where we take these individuals and go over some basic things that are critical to getting them started on their in their clinical practice as resident trainees at the beginning of their 6-year period of training. And on the one hand, we have some very high-tech things. On the other hand, we have a grapefruit cut in half that enables them to use a bipolar coagulation device that gives them the sensation of what it's like when they use that kind of thing. So it's interesting, as I say, the range of things. I think that sometimes technology can be very sexy in its appeal. And sometimes that is justified because it really is critical to providing what you need. But again, I think the research aspect of things also needs to look at things critically, so we know what is delivering in terms of skill development, and I think there's a wide range of technology and things that can be used and shown to be effective.
Fascinating.
That's amazing. Well, this has been fantastic. So right now, we would say the floor is yours. If there's anything either of you would like to share or touch on that we haven't already, anything that's exciting that's coming up from the QEII Foundation or from the work that you're doing, now would be the chance to put that out there.
Hit us with it.
Yeah, so I just want to say, because I've worked with Susan a long time and with the foundation a very long time, and when I look around the QEII, we do have a very talented group of people that work there, and I think of the whole team, and that on a day-to-day basis really impresses me. But the thing that impresses me more is the support that we have to do our work. And that support in tangible ways means, money through the foundation to do some of the things that we were talking about. But for me and for us, I think what it means is that that the community shows tremendous support in what we're doing. And that's something that I think is a great privilege and something that that I don't take lightly.
I think it's safe to say that view is very clear, that you feel that way and that you're as appreciative as you are and that you're as supported as you are. That's I mean, you're doing incredible work. From stories from my mom, who knows you, you're doing unbelievable things with our healthcare system and for the folks who are here in Nova Scotia, but beyond, of course, because the QE2 is kind of the hub when it comes to the Atlantics here for healthcare. So I think it's very apparent. I'm so glad that you're getting that opportunity and you feel that way because you're giving back. Again, we talk about that trickle down effect, that when the support is there, it impacts widely.
And I think I would first say thank you, because I think, you know, the QE2 Foundation when we work with the community, because it is the community who's giving, and I see us as kind of the facilitators, right, to help take the ideas that our clinicians, physicians, and others have, and try and bring it to life to inspire people. And people are giving through us to the QE2, right? So, you know, for me, the opportunity to have some of the best in the world right here in Halifax, and again, we're all sort of, you know, Nova Scotia humble,
yes.
right? I mean, it's hard to believe it's here in Halifax, but we have some great people doing amazing things in the health system here, and I think we should celebrate it more often, and continue to invest. And and I want to say thank you to the donor community, because really the donor community is making this happen, and people have lots of choices about where to invest their philanthropic dollars, right?
Absolutely.
And I think when they choose here at the QE2 Foundation, we are really committed to accountability and transparency, and what you've given to is going to happen, and we're going to tell you how it's happened and the impact it's had.
Amazing.
I'd say from, maybe this is a bit of my marketing hat coming out, but, you know, the notion of community and that sort of, you know, community donors to the highest level of technology being used to operate on people's brains. It's something that's grassroots, starts grassroots, and leads to blue sky ideas. I think that's pretty amazing, and how it all connects together. Hopefully some of the donors from QE2 will tune into this,
have a little listen,
and just truly realize the impact that's being made.
That's
Absolutely.
right. And if I could say, when we talked about the Rosa One, the donors who gave to that were actually a couple who had passed away and left a gift in their will. And so there's lots of ways people can give. And again, you sort of talk, there's a grassroots level, it's the $5, $25, $50, but there are the big donors who are giving $1 million or more as well.
Absolutely.
And everything in between, and it all matters. It all has an impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what a legacy too.
Yes, my gosh. Okay, well, we said it at the beginning, and it's how I'm going to wrap. Thank you both so much for taking the time out of your very busy days. I hope we didn't take you away from your robots for too long.
No,
I'm
we'll
sure
go
you need to get back there to them and to the patients, of course, on the other end of those robots. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
It's incredible to have the foundation as members. I think, like I say, that connection of technology and healthcare just makes sense. So we're really happy that you guys joined on this year, and we're excited to see what the future holds for all of innovation in healthcare. It's an exciting time, I think, to be part of it all.
It is indeed,
It is.
yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Eilish. Thank you,
Thank
Greg.
you.
Thank you very much.
Recorded by This Is Marketing on Blanding Branding since 2015.